This is a true story. Well, sort of. I'm Nicole from Arts Place, and your storytelling tip this week is tell the stories of our time. Once upon a time, in a forest deep in the mountains, there lived a fairy. Now, this wasn't just any kind of fairy. This was a kindness fairy. Now, a kindness fairy is someone who loves to do little acts of kindness for anyone in their community. And this kindness fairy loved, in particular, to sneak up to people's little fairy holes, sprinkle her fairy dust, and then make, poof, a magical gift appear in front of their doorway. She'd knock on that fairy doorway and then run and hide and wait in secret as the doorway opened slowly and the fairy who lived inside gasped in delight to find that a little gift had been left for them. Sometimes these gifts were fairy flowers or fairy treats to eat. Whatever they were chosen with kindness and created with that magical fairy dust. Now, unfortunately, a strange sickness came to this forest deep in the mountains, and all the fairies, in an effort to stay safe, chose to stay at home and just kind of keep to themselves for a while until that sickness had passed. And they all did this with great bravery and heart, but it was true that some of the fairies felt kind of lonely all by themselves in their home, that there were no more fairy dances and no more fairy parties and no more fairy games. There was just quietly staying inside of your little fairy holes. Now, our kindness fairy, she noticed that the fairies in her community were feeling a little bit sad. And she thought, well, what can I do? Maybe this is my moment as a kindness fairy. Maybe I can sprinkle some of my fairy dust to help cheer people up. And so she tried it out. She went to one fairy's house, she sprinkled her fairy dust. Magically, a gift appeared in front of that door, and she knocked on the door and went and hid and waited for the doorway to open up and for the fairy that lived inside to gasp in delight when it found its wonderful gift. With the first act of kindness, the kindness fairy felt a kind of warm glow move through her whole body. It felt kind of like love, and it made her so happy. She got excited and she thought, okay, I gotta do this again. So she went to another fairy's door and she sprinkled her fairy dust, and magically a gift appeared there, and she knocked on the door and she ran away and she hid and she waited in secret until that fairy opened the door and gasped in delight to see the special gift. Over and over again, the kindness fairy left gift after gift in front of different fairies' homes. And at the end of the day, she felt marvelous. The next day, she was looking at her beautiful fairy children playing inside of her house, and she was sitting gently with her husband and thinking about just how much joy, how much happiness it had brought her to give those acts of kindness. And she thought, maybe a gift that I can give as a kindness fairy is to invite other people into the act of kindness. Maybe allowing them to give gifts too will also cheer them up. Her husband nodded his head. He was used to his kindness fairy wife being full of ideas. Golly gosh darn. And he said, that's going to be a lot of work teaching people to be kindness fairies. She said, yeah, but I think it will be worth it. Okay, he said, I will support you. So the kindness fairy put a call out into the wind, and she asked all of the fairies across the community, please, would you like to either receive a gift in front of your doorway, or would you like to be a kindness fairy like me and give a gift to someone's doorway? And the whole community of fairies spoke up and sent their messages on the wind, either calling out the location of their fairy hole so that they could receive a gift, or in turn running around the whole community and planting little gifts in front of people's doorways. It was a magical time, and the joy that all of these new kindness fairies felt was so meaningful. Now, it happened that one fairy in the community was really busy. Let's call her the busy fairy. She was busy at home with her children, and she said, I want to play too. I want to help too. I want to be a kindness fairy too. But I have to stay home with my two young children. I wonder if someone would help me," said this busy fairy. "I wonder if they would help me and we could work together to give some gifts to put out in front of people's doors." And so the busy fairy put a call out onto the wind, and she said, "Please, maybe we could be like a team or a tribe that could work together to make these gifts all at once, and then each of us could do our part. Maybe one person could sprinkle the fairy dust, one person could knock on the door, we could all give what we could, you know." And gosh golly, did a whole bunch of keen and kind fairies jump forward to be part of that kindness fairy tribe. They got together in secret and whispered amongst each other. They came up with ideas to make the most beautiful gifts out of fairy dust, but golly, it was taking a lot of fairy dust to make those gifts. But it happened that one fairy came to the tribe and said, "Look, the gift that I can give is dust. I can't be running around knocking on people's doors and whatnot, but maybe I could lend my dust to another fairy and they could help create the gift and they could do the running and the knocking on the door." So the fairy with the extra dust gave her dust to the fairy tribe, and a whole tribe of fairies got together and they made 50 gifts for fairies around their whole community. And oh my gosh, they had so much fun doing that. Going up to a door, sprinkling the dust, making the gift magically appear, knocking on the door, running away, hiding, waiting for the fairy that lived inside to open the door and see their marvelous gift. Fairies from across the community got involved. Even our first kindness fairies family got involved. Her beautiful 3 children came with her day by day to leave these little gifts in front of the doors. And in fact, her teenage fairy son was the one who had the most delight in knocking and running away and giggling gently off to the side as they waited for the door to be opened and for the fairy to see their wonderful gift. Now, this was a true story, sort of. Here in the Bow Valley, in the beautiful Rocky Mountains of Canada, it's true that there was a group of people who called themselves the Kindness Fairies, and it's true that there was one person, a very kind person, who started the group. It's also true that a group of people in the community or a tribe of fairies came together to pool their resources so that more gifts could be delivered to more homes across the community. Our tip this week was sharing the stories of our times, and I'll leave you with this thought. What we're living right now will be important for generations to come. How do we want to be remembered in these times of challenge? How will we share who we are right now with our children and our children's children and our children's children's children? Right now, we get to decide what our story is.
We are timeless.